People who were missing as a child. What happened? I went missing when I was 9 years old and stayed gone for 8 years. But here's the thing nobody talks about in those documentaries. I wasn't kidnapped by some creepy stranger in a van. I was taken by this lady named Ruth, who thought I was her dead daughter. My name used to be Clara Feldman. I lived in this tiny town in Pennsylvania with my grandma because my parents worked overseas. One afternoon in 1998, I asked grandma for $2 to get ice cream from the corner store. She gave me the money and told me to be back before dinner. I walked out that door and didn't come home for 8 years. I made it to the ice cream shop just fine, got my usual strawberry cone and was walking back when this old woman approached me. She had wild gray hair and these really intense blue eyes. She looked at me like she'd seen a ghost and started crying. She kept saying, "Emma, my Emma, you came back to me." I told her my name was Clara, but she wouldn't listen. She grabbed my arm and said my real parents had died in a car accident and that she was my Aunt Ruth who was supposed to take care of me now. I was 9, I was scared, and when some official-looking guy in a suit showed up and confirmed her story, I believed them. Ruth drove me to this isolated farmhouse about 3 hours away. First few weeks I kept asking when I could call Grandma to let her know I was okay. Ruth always had excuses. The phone was broken. Grandma was traveling. Eventually she told me Grandma had also died and that talking about my old life would only make me sad. She changed everything about me, cut my hair short and dyed it black, made me burn all my old clothes. She homeschooled me using these ancient textbooks and never let me leave the property. When I asked about other kids or school, she said the world outside was dangerous and full of bad people who would hurt me. Ruth was completely convinced I was her daughter Emma, who died of cancer when she was 7. She had all these photos of Emma around the house and would point out how much we looked alike. She'd make me wear Emma's old clothes and sleep in Emma's room. Sometimes she'd slip up and call me Emma instead of Clara. The really messed up part was how she treated me. She wasn't evil or abusive. She genuinely loved who she thought I was. She baked me cookies every Friday, read me bedtime stories, taught me how to garden and sew. If you didn't know the truth, you'd think she was just a lonely grandmother taking care of her granddaughter. But she also controlled everything. I couldn't watch TV because she said it rotted your brain. Couldn't use the phone because strangers might trick me. Couldn't even go to the mailbox alone. She'd follow me everywhere and get really anxious if I was out of her sight for more than a few minutes. When I turned 14, I started asking more questions about my parents and my life before the accident. Ruth would get this panicked look and change the subject or distract me with some activity. One day I pushed too hard and she had a complete breakdown, screaming and crying about how she couldn't lose Emma again. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I started paying attention to inconsistencies in her stories. She told me we lived in Ohio before my parents died, but sometimes she'd slip and mention places in Pennsylvania. She said I was allergic to shellfish, but I'd eaten shrimp before without problems. 2 years later, when I was 16, Ruth started getting really sick. She'd forget things and sometimes didn't recognize me at all. During one of her confused episodes, she kept asking where Clara was and when Clara was coming home. I asked her who Clara was and she said Clara was a little girl who used to visit sometimes but then stopped coming. That night, I went through her bedroom while she was sleeping, found this old shoebox hidden under her bed filled with newspaper clippings, all about a missing 9-year-old girl named Clara Feldman from Millbrook, Pennsylvania. The photos showed a little girl with light brown hair and green eyes. My hair, my eyes, before Ruth changed everything. I sat on that floor reading article after article about search parties and reward money, and my grandma begging for anyone with information to come forward. There was this one photo of grandma at a candlelight vigil holding my school picture and crying. I'd been gone for 7 years at that point, and she was still looking. The hardest part was realizing Ruth genuinely believed her own story. She wasn't some evil kidnapper. She was a deeply sick woman who lost her daughter and convinced herself I was Emma reborn. In her mind, she saved me from tragedy and gave me a loving home.